Hi, I'm Dave Filmore, editor of Medtech Insight, and we're here at the Medtech conference in Philadelphia. And I'm with Jeff Shuren, who many will know is the director of the Device Center at FDA, CDRH. And he's at the meeting, and he's going to talk to us about some of the things up to at FDA and some of the things on his mind. So, welcome.
Thank you, David.
Yeah. So, let's get started. And I know you're talking at a few sessions here. Obviously, you're here for a reason. Talking to industry. What are kind of some key messages you think are important takeaways from you, from other FDA officials at this meeting to industry, to the people that are attending?
Well, we're here to engage. We recognize, too, that we're most successful in achieving our mission and our vision when we proactively engage with our customers, whether they be patients, providers, or industry. We're here to find out what are the needs, what are the challenges, and then we like to work collaboratively to solve those challenges as appropriate.
So you're here to talk and listen and talk and just hear what industry has to say?
Yeah, and tell people about the work we're doing at the center, and we're always open for feedback.
So one thing I think that is happening that's probably a big thing on your end or in the center itself, and for the people working there, is there's a reorganization that's been going on under the concept of the total product life cycle, which is something talked about a while, but really putting into practice now, it seems like, organizationally. Is that office, new super office as it's been called, something that's actually in practice right now? Is it tangibly working? Is it still in transition? And has there anything specific come out of that? Is it resulting in successes and how products are reviewed in any way you could talk to at this point?
Well, we're in the midst of a pilot for this new office, if it is approved. And if it's approved, we will be calling it the Office of Product Evaluation and Quality. But we're trying to operate as much as we can as that office in the absence of a formal reorganization. So even today, we're starting to see some changes in how we do business. We flattened out the management structure. We're pushing down a lot of our decision making. For example, now decisions if you're going to clear a 510K, that can be made at sort of the branch level of what in the future would be called assistant director. And we've organized into total product lifecycle teams. So now you have people coming from different perspectives and having looked at different parts of the life cycle, now working together as a group, and we're seeing folks in a better position for sharing information and helping us to make even better informed decisions.
So is that something you could speak to? Has anything tangible, specific come out, like specific product? Maybe you can't get into the internals, but something that you said this wouldn't have happened before, but now it's happened because we have this more flattened structure, as you say, and more pre and post market together and everything.
Well, I think it's early to say on that point. I can say from some of the discussions we've had, the level of engagement and the things being put on the table and the perspectives are starting to change a bit and have much more of this TPLC flavor to it.
Okay. But still waiting on the official approval, and it's not fully in place yet. In a sense.
That's right. And until we get that approval, we will not move forward to have the actual office up and running.
Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about actually was the Breakthrough Device Program, which is something that's been around in some form for a number of years. I feel like every other week I'm seeing an announcement from a company. I know the FDA is not putting those out, but companies are announcing their acceptance into the program. The volume, just publicly, the public level, it seems high. It seems higher than I actually expected when you guys first launched the program. Under the expedited access pathway, I remember getting a sense that it was going to be a lot more selective. Not the dozens and dozens that seem to be getting into the program. Is it more than you expected? Are you handling the burden of that? How you guys adjusted, and sort of what's the current status of the Breakthrough Device Program?
Well, it is more products coming through than we had originally envisioned. We were thinking more like 10, maybe 20. Now we're seeing more on the order of 10 to 30 annually. But I think that's great news, because it means there's a lot of terrific innovation going on and a lot of developers interested in coming to the U.S. marketplace. That's what we're seeing. From the time we started that program, as you raised, as the Expedited Access Pathway Program, back in April 2015 to the present time, we have 95 devices designated as breakthrough, and we approved our first one last December, and since then we've got a total of 8. That includes 4 PMAs, 2 de novos, and 2 510Ks. So very exciting to start seeing this technology enter the marketplace. It is resource intensive, so we are monitoring just to make sure we're applying our resources as we need to, and we're getting the rest of the work done, which we are. But I think too, when we first launched this as a pilot in 2011 as the innovation pathway, we always said that if this worked, there shouldn't be a unique pathway for just some. It should be the standard approach for all, or almost all, resources, if resources permit.
So right now you're able to make these collaborations that are supposed to be happening, and you're not, it's not something that's going beyond what you could handle resource-wise.
No, right now we're able to do it. But if this enthusiasm keeps up and we see more things coming across our plate, well, we'll revisit if we have to.
More money from Congress, yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Perhaps. So yeah, actually that kind of dovetails actually, I think, into thinking about reimbursement, which is not the first topic you think of when you think of FDA, or at least not for me. But there is a growing focus, certainly on the industry side, of trying to figure out. I think there's a lot of kudos to you going around, a lot of the center going around in the innovation improvements and getting products more quickly, predictably. But still, a lot of concerns on the reimbursement side, obviously handled by Medicare, CMS, getting those breakthrough, more innovative products, actually reimbursed so they could get adopted. I know FDA has been playing sort of, some roles here. You have the parallel review program with CMS. You have the private payer program where you're bringing in, offering to bring in private payers into these early pre-submission meetings. And you've had other discussions, I know, with CMS, just ways FDA could play a role. But, I want to get your sense of, how those are going. I do think that when you look at like the parallel review program or the private payer program, it's not clear that there's been tons of volume, at least from someone looking from outside, tons of activity. Are those, making an impact in your view?
Well, first off, we're not payers, so we're never going to make the decision for payers. We're not going to opine on what payers should do. But we have had as a priority streamlining the pathway from FDA approval to payer coverage and reimbursement since 2010, because we believe that we want patients to have real access to technology, and particularly if it's expensive technology, they don't have access if it isn't reimbursed. They're just not going to see it. So we have been taking strides, and you've laid out some of them. Those programs were never designed to be a magic bullet in and of themselves. And certainly for parallel review, it's going to be for a developer who either wants to or has to get a national coverage determination. And CMS has limited bandwidth as well. But we are seeing value coming out of both programs that isn't so evident to the public. So in parallel review, even though there aren't lots of products in that pathway, a lot more developers have gone to CMS to get feedback, and I think CMS being more willing to provide that feedback. On the private payer side, we've already had 10 interactions, and now more recently, United Healthcare Group and Care First have joined in and have an interest in participating in the program. So I think that'll grow as well. And the last is we're starting to have dialogues now with payers. Payers talking with us, industry engaging with payers, and I think that dialogue may help all of us move to what is the right kind of information you need. When do you need it? And are there different kind of reimbursement models that will help facilitate safe and effective technologies that truly improve health outcomes, getting onto the marketplace in a timely fashion and getting to patients? Another exciting development is now with the Medical Device Innovation Consortium that's starting a work stream on, health economic value and patient access. And that's kind of another opportunity to sort of address these challenging issues.
So multi-part attack and kind of seeing where things go. Yeah. Great. Well, I wanted to get another topic is I think something that's sort of, the constant debate in the medical device regulation world and the drug regulation world is the whole, you have encouraging innovation, protecting safety. It's kind of the two prongs of FDA's mission. I think there's a lot of kudos to you from industry on the innovation side in terms of coming up with ways of speeding innovation to market. I would say, in my perception, may not be corrected, but the more vocal, grassroots sort of patient voices that I've certainly noticed them over the years, but feel like they've risen a little bit in prominence, particularly around certain devices. We know the mesh, the Shuren, the hip, the metal hips, things like that. Do you feel is FDA doing something particularly to engage with that, those groups, people that have concerns with FDA's, approach to devices and their current authorities, and are any changes need to be done in terms of the actual substance of, or do we have the right protect versus promote of medical devices and innovation right now in terms of the balance?
Well, first off, I empathize with any patient who has been harmed by a device, whether that's because the device failed to perform as it should, or it worked exactly as it should, but all devices have risks. And I think we know that. The same with drugs, that some people will get harm from their device when it's working just as it's supposed to. And I wish devices never hurt anyone, but that's not the case. At the same time, not only empathize, we listen to patients when they come in the door. In fact, in a number of cases, the patient voice and patients raising issues have led us to take actions regarding particular technologies. So that relationship with patients is absolutely vital. I will say on the flip side, we got plenty of patients who come in telling us we need to do more on the innovation side, which raises a great point. You know, you talk about this protect and promote innovation and safety, which to many people is viewed, at least in Washington, as these polar opposites. And you know, when we issued our Medical Device Safety Action Plan in the spring of this year, one of our points we tried to make is that innovation and safety aren't polar opposites, actually move in parallel. If we can drive innovation to make safer, more effective technologies, we drive innovation for technologies that can address an unmet medical need, that's patient safety. Because if we're reducing the harm or eliminating the harm from a patient's disease, that's a safety issue. Patients don't care on the cause. They don't want to get hurt, whatever that may be. So those really are in alignment, and that action plan lays out all the steps we've been taking over the past few years to strengthen patient safety, and there are many of them, as well as steps that are already underway right now or we are planning or exploring. So it kind of lays out the additional steps we think are important to take. One of those is around building an active surveillance component to our National Evaluation System for Health Technology, for NEST. And as you know, we do have a proposal in the President's budget for funding for those activities, and we certainly hope Congress will get behind that and support many of these patient safety activities.
Right. So, and a big focus on looking at the products in the post-market, monitoring, surveilling them as a key emphasis, as opposed to, it seems like a lot of focus on a push is from some patient groups is, you know, more data in advance, more data in the pre-market. But I think the focus from you is that surveillance component and circling back that into the process. Is that?
Well, we also look on the pre-market side. It's why we invest so heavily in regulatory science, a lot of our work with MDIC. It's about building better evaluation tools. You know, can we get more robust evidence, and we can get that in a more efficient manner, and that does go to patient safety as well, both pre-market and post-market.
So the other thing I wanted to ask about, I know you have a 2-year strategic priority document that you put out recently. We talked to you about it last year, I think. Kind of broad-based issues you're dealing with in terms of simplicity, employee engagement. I hear there's maybe some new information on the third goal there in terms of collaborative community. So you can say a little bit about what those are and what's happening on that front?
Certainly. So we engage in lots of collaboration in the work that we do, but those tend to be one-off undertakings. A collaborative community is an ongoing forum where public and private stakeholder groups get together on a continuing basis to address shared objectives and solve shared problems. This is the place, if you will, where the work gets done, and it's the community that does it. It's very different from the government traditional approach of command and control. So in this circumstance, it's FDA participating as a member of the community, not the one leading the forum. And that means we have to be open to what the community would like to do to achieve our collective shared objectives, unless, of course, it's contrary to our statutory mandate or it's not in the best interest of public health. We can never go there. But otherwise, got to be open to what the community does. That's a collaborative community. And today, we just put out sort of a draft toolkit, really considerations that if there are entities who want to create a collaborative community, here are things to maybe keep in mind to develop a successful collaborative community. And we certainly are also welcome feedback as to, are there particular areas for which a collaborative community would be appropriate, and are there any entities who are interested in serving as that ongoing forum?
And just to finish off, is there any other key messages you want to leave us with, something that you think is important, just to give you the floor for a minute before we sign off?
Well, I think if you're at the conference, you're going to see a number of people from CDRH participating in a variety of panels, and I think it's credit to my colleagues at CDRH about the great work that they're doing, a lot of the innovative approaches they're taking to advance not only device innovation, patient safety, and helping to bring better technologies to the marketplace. And that's why they're on these panels. So what you're seeing is, I think, a recognition about the good work they're doing and a lot of interest to hear more about the actions being taken by my colleagues at the center. I'm just so proud of the work that they do.
Great. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you joining us here at the Medtech conference, and I hope you have a good show.
Great. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.